Hi guys, Ryan Bader here, bringing you episode number 24 of the Ball Talk podcast, and this is part 2 of a podcast I did about a month ago with Irish comedian Tom O'Mahony. If you haven't seen part 1, I'd advise you to go back and listen to it in case there's any bits that carry and overlap into this one. If you like this podcast, you can check out more like it on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the podcast.
That's the first one gone. I'll pick out another one now. Here we go. Lockdown notions.
Lockdown notions, yeah.
So I suppose we've seen dodgy haircuts and bars and benches made out of pallets. And I think
I went stone mad for the first couple of weeks on pallets. Yeah, I went fucking mad. I built a barbecue fucking station out the back of my pallets, and I'm still sporting kind of a bit of a mullet going on here. I haven't. It got to a point where herself kept on going, Can I cut a mullet into your hair? I was like, no, come on. She goes, come on, Tom, you're a comedian. You're one of the few professionals that can get away with your professional life having a silly haircut. So like after about a month of her going, come on, let me fucking. So she's been cultivating a mullet into my. So it is actually tight on the sides and it's growing down the back. So yeah, and now I've got this ridiculous moustache as well. It seems to be it just feels weirdly natural to just be.
Yeah.
What is? I didn't get into the banana bread making fucking phenomenon that seemed. Why the fuck anybody would want? Number one, want banana bread. These are two things that I would never want to put together, like unless it's toasted fucking maybe banana sandwich and I'm 5 years of age. But actually putting banana into a bread, I didn't end up down that route. But yeah, the dodgy haircut, the weird mustache, and the pallets definitely because there was pallets next door. And, I just felt I may as well.
Yeah, pallets they're like the new fidget spinners. They'll be in they'll be in fashion now for a few weeks, anyways. They're
gone.
They're kind of showing their worth though. There's a lot of people making different things out of them. It's something to do, something to keep the mind steady, like.
That's what I was saying. Like, it actually was a project right at the beginning. This was all too much of a slap to the face because, like I was saying, I was racking up anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 a week, like, and all of a sudden Leo says no. Leo just, it was the day he was standing on the steps in Washington, and he went anything over 100, and I had a good few theatre shows lined up. I say good few. There was 56 went like that. The moment he said those words, I got a gang of phone calls winning over the next 12 hours. I went, it's pulled. And in that moment when somebody puts the brake on, that you've been going as hard as you possibly can for 10 years to work at least that point where you're going as hard as you possibly can and just go, no, that's gone. And by the way, you can't even go anywhere. You got to stay where you are too.
Yeah.
I mean, to not have a meltdown moment, I probably did have I didn't. It was just my brain is set up to go, fucking do something right now. So I remember I had a load of timber blocks that needed splitting anyway. And I think I spent like 12 hours just busting blocks, just trying to get temper out of me. And you just switch gears then. I just stepped up the podcast game, made a bunch of stuff out of pallets, and just to keep creative, because that's what you are, like doing this, whatever about poor misfortunes that just were used to I don't know, maybe they adapted to it better, but because you're creating stuff all the time, whether it's online or it's actually spoken word, and not being able to have that outlet anymore, I had to do something. So getting out the old fucking Makita drill and the fucking bunch of screws and putting pallets together in different shapes. I had to do fucking something.
Yeah, there's some job, no fairness, and even I can see there with the tash as well. It's kind of grown perfect. It's perfectly coloured on either side there.
It's weird, isn't it? People, would you believe it? Like this now, the lighting is terrible here where I'm sitting, but it is bang on line. People were actually asking me, had I fucking dyed my moustache? It was like, yes, of course I'm dying. I'm dyeing the bottom half of my moustache because I'm a lunatic. Like how you would do it, I don't know, but. I don't know how that's come about. It's just from halfway down, it's just Snow White, and then it's kind of, I suppose, Blondie. The rest of it, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I look like I'm in a militia in the Oklahoma mountains. That's what I look like. I look like you're not getting within 20 feet of my property without getting shot. So maybe it's a defense mechanism. I don't know.
Yeah, I try now. I won't deny it. I try growing, I suppose, a beard. I look like, when I say a beard, I look like I was rolling around on the floor of a barber shop.
Oh, your alopecia face. It's an awful dose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of. You
It's
can even see it still here. It's not. It doesn't grow there at all.
up the middle. You have that Wolverine kind of look going on. Yeah.
Yeah, Wolverine. Yeah, some fucking Wolverine. I am. But
You
yeah,
may as well grow a big pair of mad chops. Just big chops and make out like you are actually shaving it in the middle. Just go, look at, I just like big fucking chops, you know?
Yeah.
People will remember you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's funny how
Who's that?
people's.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
It's funny how people's hair grows like that though, because like some books have patches in certain areas, and some books just can't grow enough of it. Like.
Ah, stop. Listen, I could take a fucking angle grinder to this stuff that's growing right up to my eyes, down to my fucking toes. But it is like ourselves brothers there, like should they hadn't, I'd say they wouldn't shave from one end of the week to the other. You could, a rough cloth would take it off, like, you know.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know what the purpose of it is. I mean, we all have central heating nowadays. It's not like you need a big beard. You know, maybe I don't know. There's a touch of a hairy Viking somewhere in me, or my family lived by a cold sea or something. I don't know, but I know I got it from my mother anyway. She's a fine beard. She's
She loved that. Oh man, yeah. Sure, yeah. We move on to the next one.
dude.
Yeah, we got our I suppose wacky lockdown notions out there. Here's the next one now. Acting.
Yeah,
So as well as a comedian, you're an actor as well.
yeah.
And I suppose some people might be looking like, geez, I've seen him on telly before. You're in Damon Ivor.
Yeah. That's the one that most people kind of, they get shocked that they realize I was in Damon Ivor, because they go, their brain clicks over, goes, what the fuck? He's what? And now, what? Because they're looking at me. Number one, I'm probably dressed in hunting camo from head to toe. I got a big stupid moustache and a fucking mullet and a big fucking culture accent on me. And they go, but what? My brain doesn't compute this. And it's like, yeah, well, I was just acting. That's all. Because I played, obviously, because you've seen it, but to anybody who's going, what the fuck is Damon Ivor? I played a very much a D4 character, like a ridiculously high collar. My character's name was Tarquin. And it was exactly that. And it was very easy to slip into character, because even on the show, they'd rented 2 or 3 houses down this road in Foxrock in Dublin. And it was just the most fucking ridiculous. Like, Tarquin's house was the most ridiculous house you've ever. But it was a fine size house, and to be a fine house out the country, but where it was, my Lord Jesus, I have no idea how much a house like this would cost. It had its own indoor swimming pool and everything. It was fucking ridiculous. So it was easy. As soon as you look at it, you're like, yeah, your accent actually changes looking at the fucking, you know, when you put on the Ralph Lauren and they've stuck on these collars that are like an extra 2 inches higher and stuff, you find yourself slipping into gear very, very handy. Like,
they're brilliant. Like that sort of era of comedy that on RT. I was probably, like, I'm 20 now, so Damon Ivor is what? It's 5-6 years ago anyways.
Yeah. It would be 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made. I couldn't believe the impact. We knew the numbers we were doing. We were doing big numbers. We were in toe to toe with Love Hate at the time. Like, we were doing. I suppose online is even bigger now, and it's robbing a lot of TV. In whether it be Netflix or Amazon Prime or just people watching fucking YouTube and not bothering with the television. So they do. There is. We were doing close to 300,000 every Thursday. Like,
wow.
I mean, Love Hate was pipping us a few times, but we pipped Love Hate a few times. Like, and when you put that in context of, say, Croke Park is 80,000 people, like, you actually consider standing in Croke Park full, you go, fuck me. Now multiply that by 3 or 4. Actual physical people's faces looking at this, and it was mind-boggling. I know in the numbers of the UK numbers, they go, it's 7 million last night. You know, it's the UK, but in Ireland it wasn't bad numbers, and it's strange the amount of people that still fucking love that show.
Exactly, yeah. Because even small bits on YouTube, like I could be there flicking through YouTube between it's Damon Ivor, it's Republic Telly, Hardy Bucks, and Savage Eye. Like, you could be flicking through them for ages, and it's that sort of, I suppose you could call it a bit of an era, a space about 10 years where all them things came out. just absolute brilliance. Like,
Yeah, the shackles were off. That was a great thing. There's probably a bit of a shackles now on things where they're very conscious in producing TV shows. They're very conscious of who their viewers are, and not so much who their viewers are, but more so, are they appeasing the gods of both political correctness and certain cultures? You know, are we covering? Are we, rather than the focus being comedy first, and then we'll worry about the rest afterwards? It would seem, are we appeasing a certain criteria that we need to, and if in anything, if you're building a fucking house and your number one focus is the carpet, the fucking house, man, is going to go fucking tits up. You know what I mean? You're going to fuck it up before you get it to fucking window level, because your eye was off the ball, whereas the focus should be on the greatest house you can make. You know what I mean? Like, I know that was a fucking a dreadful analogy, but I used to work in construction. I used to work in construction for years, so that's
every analogy between from fucking skirting boards now to carpets. There you go. There you go.
So and not all the time. Some great stuff is still coming out, but it's like The Young Offenders, fucking brilliant. You know what I mean? It was great, and their whole focus was comedy, and not a fuck was given in between that. And people get on board with it because they got on board. Damon and Ivor was utterly goofy. Like, you almost had over the top, and that was the MO, was to go so far over the top that you go, you know, like we had Rick Mail. Like, to get Rick Mail, who throughout the 80s and 90s and even into the 2000s was just a comedy god in the UK, like, to get him, and he's never done anything that he wasn't probably a writer in, and to get him involved was fucking, and to watch him, and he only plays ridiculously over the top characters, and he was perfect for it. He set the tone. You're like, because we got started on Republic of Telly with sketches, and then we got a TV show commissioned, and then, which is the greatest news ever, like, to actually, they're going to sling some serious money behind this, like, and then to hear the news on the day going, and we got Rick Mail, it was like, holy sweet Jesus. It was, and that was my first ever acting gig, proper acting gig.
And did you do bits and pieces? Sorry, no, did you do bits and pieces of skits and that as well, apart from Damon and Ivor with Republic Telly?
Yeah, no, not really. No, I'd never done anything prior to that. I'd done bits and pieces with, I suppose, what had I done? Irish Pictorial Weekly is what it was called. And again, it was a sketch show, but it was kind of, it was almost political leaning and stuff like that. I did, what else? I think maybe I did a few bits of Republic of Telly. I can't fully remember. I know I was to do bits with the Savage Eye, but Damon and Ivor and that were just a crossover at the time, and it didn't happen. I was to be in the Hardy Bucks as well briefly. But it was, Owen had put it to me. He says, would you fancy it? I said, yeah, absolutely. And then he'd mentioned the dates that they were thinking about filming, and he'd get in contact or whatever. And the next thing in my own head, I went back to him and went, no, I'm kind of getting married around then. I said kind of. I was actually getting married around then. And what was hilarious is I'd been in a bunch of different countries that year with just gigging and stuff, and I fucking did not want to go anywhere else. I hate airports. I hate them. To the point my skin fucking crawls in the airports. It's such an anticlimax if you're heading anywhere nice. Like, you get to the airport, you're buzzing, and you have to queue behind big fat fucking Americans, and you have to just deal with the worst of humanity, because people kicking off their shoes and smelly feet. It's just, so can we just stay in Ireland? She was like, absolutely. I don't want to fly anywhere either. So no sooner had we gotten married, we jumped in the car. We went out west. And we stayed in Mayo pretty much for around Mayo, and that for Mayo and Sligo. And as we were driving over, we were driving through Swinford, and the cameras were all set up on the street and everything. The Hardy Bucks were, and I'd said it. Herself went, "Do you want to stop?" And tipped down to Owen. I went, I probably shouldn't. We're kind of on our honeymoon. So we kept on driving. Even I was only saying it to him the other night. He was like, "You totally should have stopped." I said, if I stopped, we would have been 2 days in fucking Swinford acting. Because but it would have been your honeymoon. It would have been gas. Maybe not. Maybe not that funny. But yeah, that you do, once you do a show like Damon and Ivor and stuff, you end up kind of getting picked to be a lot of, like, I did a show called Bridget Neyman as well, where I played
Yeah,
I played the local neighbor. I played the
yeah,
local pervert neighbor. Yeah.
yeah.
And those are the things people approach you with. They go, hey, we need a fucking weirdo for this thing. Do you want to be that? Fine. Fine.
Yeah. There's only a few like even the ones we listed off there. Even you could put Killer Scully into that bracket as well, of that like 10-year period. There's not as much anymore. There's like you have the young offenders, you have Bridget Neyman, but I'm probably missing out one or two. But there's not as much of them like sketch shows, comedy sort of stuff anymore.
No, I do think it's probably a funding thing. You know what I mean? Even though which blows me away, that's the story that's given a lot of the time, is that but you are right. Yeah, no, there's been a drop off. There was a period there where comedy was taken over, and and it would seem like the general public were loving it. It was, all those shows we talked about, and then there were things, the New Comedy Awards, where it was like quite literally, it was a TV show. Now it was badly produced, unfortunately, but it was an All Ireland competition, and it was all filmed in the Sugar Club, and it was a weekly show, and it was Burnt presented it, and then we're going to 4 on BBC, and the plan was to basically foster, you know what I mean, foster fucking good comedy and create that lower, at beginner level to a great potential and take them through, and it just never happened. It was a funding thing, I'm guessing, and it was the first thing to get the old shop.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't see much. I'm guessing it's not. They don't tell us. They just.
We're gone again. Fucking hell, we're gone again. Jeez, we got a good bit of mileage out of this. We went again there.
It did. You're back again.
Yeah, we're back again now.
But yeah, I think I answered that. You have to freeze them with your eyes closed.
Fuck it.
Wished. You're back moving again. Good.
I'm moving. You're still frozen there. Oh no, you're back moving again. Your sound. Yeah, hopefully the camera that comes out sound. There will be one or two bits now that I'll have to edit and that to accommodate.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'll plug that in. I think United are playing at 5 o'clock, so I'll plug that in while I'm watching that. So there's no fucking fans to be listening to, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, as we were saying there, with the lack of comedy-based programs on RT and that now, do you think there's a place for them to come back, like say, like even something as simple as Republic of Telly, that there could be sketches of Damon Ivor and sketches of the Hardy Bucks and stuff like that in it?
I would think so. I mean, given that everybody has a phone right now, I don't know why they're not availing of it. There's any amount of content being created now, and good, bad, or indifferent, it would cost them almost nothing to put it out there. You know what I mean? If you had a section on a Tuesday night at 10:30, bang it on. Just like you could quite literally, for the people, the amount of online content that's being made right now, why not start there? It would actually cost nothing, because people would give it to you for free just for exposure for the first while anyway. Just to put together a show. But they do, I mean, I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. It would seem to be the easiest option would be to do something like that. Like we have a show at the minute. It's called Buckshot Sideshow, and it's a game show, and I host it, and it's good production, all right. Now we move it around, but again, it's cost us only time to do. And if RT came and said, you know what, could we have that? I would give it to them. It's good. Yeah, sure, great. So long as you plug all of us, because the comedians that I pick for it, they're all mates. And I'll be rotating in and out comedian stuff because we're only like 3 episodes in, but they're all people who would be headline standard and who know how to pull the trigger quickly, because it's a live. We stream them live, so there's no ums and ahs allowed. There's no I'm having a bit of a brain fart here. Nothing. You gotta go. Once the gun goes at the beginning and we're live, you gotta go, and that's what good comedians need. You know what I mean? With something like that, No, it's a giveaway. It's a giveaway. When you see things that they have produced and you're kind of going, oh, come on now. There's way better out there than that.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't know. These people have big roundtable discussions about these things that I'm definitely not involved with. I could only speculate what their MO is.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't involve me.
Yeah, but like even watching Republic Telly, like it's the snippets on YouTube and that, the different sketches they do, you'd see. I think like there's the sketches like you're Irish when, and things that people said in the 80s and the 90s and stuff. There's people on them from 10 years ago that weren't, in fairness, they weren't as big as they are now. Like there's the likes of, whether it be Bernard O'Shea and Jennifer Zamparelli, or if it's yourself and like Stevie Cahill I've been talking to recently, like Stevie with the lads off the Fucking Egypts, and Kev McGahern, Martin Maloney, all these lads, Chris Turloff as well. Like it's just, you're watching them back now, and you're like, he was in this, he was in that, he was in these two things as well. Do you know what I mean? There's a place there surely for Irish comedians that are currently at the stage that they were in when Republic Telly was out, to kind of give themselves that exposure. I hope I waffled there a bit, but I think you get what I mean.
No, it makes perfect sense. But that in itself was an academy, like, and it was great. But that could be still there even with at academy level, but still have strong acts just like McGarren or Fred Cook or Tordoff or any of these people, or Jane. There's amazing comedians out there. Like the other night, people don't fit. They're not household names. The acts that were on, like the other night, I had Steve Cummins, Jim Elliott, Mickey Bartlett, and Emma Dorn. All headliners. Like they would fucking destroy in a comedy club. Like destroy, like level. And I dare any even well-known household name to try and follow any of them. They couldn't. Like they just couldn't, because you're talking. It's a very fine line sometimes, like between people. Some people got very lucky back in the day when they just sprung to stardom or whatever. Would they be able to do it now? Most likely, probably not, because the playing field is a lot more dense now and whatnot. But you're looking at 4 people I just named there. Like you could give any of them their own show and they'd fly with it. Like, and anybody watching from the outside in, if you were a producer, you watch that show, like say the one last Tuesday night, like you go, fuck me, let's ask him for that. Do you know, it would make perfect sense. It's already packaged, custom built, it could be handed over. And that for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason that's why they're missing a trick. All 4 of those comedians could easily have their own show, no problem.
Yeah.
But it seems to be the trick that they're missing. I don't know. I don't know the answer behind it. Maybe the whole thing is to go more political. I don't know. But all the comedy, more or less, all the comedy has gone out of RTÉ.
Yeah. Hopefully now something comes back. I know there's certainly been a rejuvenation in people wanting a new season of the Hardy Bucks since the lockdown. So hopefully now something is acted upon, whether it's through RTÉ, whether it's through, I think the lads were saying they might have to go through crowdfunding to start it up again or something like that. Hopefully something comes together, because there's a lot of series in that probably ended. They might have done 1 or 2 seasons and people would be like, oh, you know what, they should have made more seasons. But they're kind of like, no, we ended on good. We ended it in a good way. Do you know what I mean? They're kind of leaving people wanting more. But hopefully now something comes up, whether it's a Hardy Bucks or a Republic Telly or Damo and Ivor, even if it's a 10-minute skit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they do. They tend to throw them up on the player. Some of these things, like Owen got a 10-minute, 15-minute show, and they put it up on the player, and it was on the telly the other night. Like, but again, nothing made of it. Like, it's a great show. It's a great concept. Like, it's it's him briefly chatting in the Owen Colligan character to somebody by the fireplace, and there are a couple of people like James Patrice, people who'd be well known, probably online and stuff like that. But it's all very tongue-in-cheek, silly and fun, and it's done and dusted in 15 minutes. But why that isn't a continuous thing, I don't know. Look at podcasting right now. They could just set up a couple of podcast studios in some empty space that they have. It's so low tech, it's not even funny, and just film that. Like Joe Rogan, I'm not, to give you an example of the maximum level that you can achieve, quite literally millions of views just to watch a couple of blokes talk, or a bloke and a woman talk. That's it. Quite literally millions. There's nothing else going on. There's no acting. There's no heavy production. There's no lighting setups. There's no change of scenery. There's nothing. There's no driving around. There's no, it's nothing. It's fucking a 2-camera setup. Oh, so 1-camera setup, a Mevo, which is, it does its own live cutting back and forth. That's it. That's all you need. They could do that and fill hours of time.
Exactly. No more than what we're doing now. Like, it's just, it's purely simple. Yeah. Exactly. I think we've got all the topics through now and everything. And we'll do the crack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good chat. I suppose to wrap it up now, I was trying to think. Did you watch the Comic Relief show last night?
I did not. No, I did not. Comedians are terrible people. Unless it's about you at all in any way, then you don't watch it. Typically, you don't, like, and that's that's just me being very fucking honest. Also, I totally forgot. I'm being harsh on all comedians, but I totally forgot about it. It also didn't involve any of my mates in comedy. So I had no vested interest. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as Owen's show was on the Player, I was promoting it everywhere. I was talking about it. But, you know, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, fine. And it's Comic Relief, and I almost see no comedians in it. There was 1 or 2 comedians involved in it. And I go, okay, so you're using all the well-known faces from Ireland. Like, they've Niall Horan, and I'm sure Brezzy was in there somewhere. I don't think they're physically allowed to make anything that doesn't have fucking Brezzy involvement somewhere, and they have, you know, bunches of people that are well-known, like Hosier. When's the last time you saw Hosier on a fucking comedy lineup? Like, I'm sure he's a lovely fella, but he ain't gonna, you know. So in that sense, when I see Comic Relief and you see, you know, Imelda May is going to tell some jokes, and she, you know, call it what it is. It's celebrity relief is what it is. So I didn't have a whole pile of interest. It's like, you know, I don't watch the Late Show much either, you know, because you know, unless it involves something that somebody I know about. So really, I when I saw the lineup, I didn't see the lineup. It was just pictures would come up on your social feed and stuff, and go, oh, these people are going to be guests. And I'm like, I bet they're not. I'm sure they're a lovely singer and whatnot, but I bet they're not going to be guests.
Yeah, to be honest, I caught a small bit.
Was it any good?
I caught a small bit. The bit that I probably caught about half an hour, but I think it's like 3 hours long or something. I caught about half an hour of it, and I have to say, it's an image that will stay with me the rest of my life. It's 2 Johnnies. They're doing like a Westlife piss take.
Okay.
Nicky Byrne was presenting it, and the 2 Johnnies were doing like I think that one of them dressed up as Mary Black, and the other one dressed up as another woman. I can't think of her name now. Then they did a Christy Moore kind of skit as well. It's actually half decent. Well, no, it's very good. And then you had there was themselves. They had the white suits on, the white.
Okay,
the old Westlife, the Westlife look on them, and there was 2 Johnnies in the middle. On either side, there was Marty Morrissey and Des Cahill.
Oh, well, see, that's funny, like, because both the lads are funny, and at least the 2 Johnnies are you know, they're in comedy. Like, so I didn't know they were going to be in it, but cool.
Yeah, like they came up to the microphones, they started singing. I think it was Flying Without Wings. I can't think, but they were singing the song anyways, and like up at the microphones, and you saw Marty doing his moves over on the side, and Des Cahill just like, you know, doing his thing up against the microphone, and that I have to say, it was absolutely brilliant. Just the image itself, I say you can picture it yourself, like it just.
Yeah, I mean, Marty's like something out of, he looks like Beetlejuice or something, like, but he's gifted at what he does. But I also love that he kind of knows that he's mad looking with his ridiculously white teeth, a tan in like November, and his jet black fucking hair. You know, and Des is jet black. The lads have shares in fucking Clairol or something, like, there's nobody's hair is that black, like, you know, but and of course the 2 Johnnies, like they're 2 good mates, like, of mine, and that's not the reason, but I'm delighted they were involved because they're perfect for it. You know what I mean? They're perfect for it because they do sing their silly songs and they parody songs and they play characters all the time, and at least they are comics. What I popped up on my timeline was I think Aisling Bea was the only one in it that I could actually went, oh yeah, she's a comedian.
Yeah.
Where are the rest of the comedians?
They did a bit on the panel show, I think. They had Dara O'Brien was on, Ed Byrne. There were a good few comedians on it.
Oh, good,
for,
right.
For bits and pieces. They did like a Last Dance sort of a piss take where it was on about the. Well, was that the panel show? Was that the name of it? The panel. The panel. Yeah.
Amazingly, I'll never know. It was.
You're breaking up there, Tom. What'd you say?
I was just saying, how did they ever come up with such an ingenious name? The panel. It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah. They did it like, it was like instead of the Last Dance, it was the Last Panel. And Dara O'Brien was Michael Jordan. And it was saying how he moved on to bigger, better things in England and all that. And he'd say one thing, and then Ed Byrne would come on and basically contradict him, or Aisling Bea do it, or they had David Mitchell on, and Delamere, the whole lot. It was that was actually very good. Now, in fairness, they kind of did it. They kind of fragmented it around the show, so it was good. It came on every couple of minutes or so.
But that's I mean,
as you said,
I mean that's
genuine comedians, like.
Yeah. But again, I'm standing corrected here because I had no idea any of those people. I don't know why those people didn't show up on my timeline. Well, all I seem to see was people that weren't.
Yeah.
So, but even still, it's tough. It's sometimes tough to watch comedy because you're watching it through the guise of a comedian and you're going, oh, I see what they did there. So you're not really getting the same benefit that you're watching it for interest, but you're going, I see what they did there. Where everybody around you is laughing. It's like, oh, good, that was a nice move. Now
you're like
analyzing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are. You're analyzing it. So nearly the good has gone out of it, like, because you fucking know how they got there, like, you know.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, bringing in the likes of O'Brien and stuff. And again, there was the panel back in the day that, you know, really springboarded him. It springboarded Andrew Maxwell. It springboarded Delamere massively. You know, it springboarded a good few of them. And that was a great... Now they're household names. They're fucking... Dara O'Brien, anyway, is a multi-millionaire as a direct result of it. Like, you know, that is... And even Delamere was telling me back when he started in the 90s, they were quite literally throwing TV shows at him because they didn't compete with... There was no internet. There was none. The only entertainment was the telly box in your house. So you had every eye in the country on you, you know. And it was perfect because from there then you're selling out Vicar Street the following month.
Yeah.
It was a great springboard. And going back to what you were talking about the last time was, there doesn't seem to be that same academy level through the national broadcaster. Yeah. I'm guessing because it has gotten diluted by the internet, like, you know.
Yeah, they could do their own sort of stuff on Instagram. You'd see younger comedians like Bernard Casey and that that are doing their own bits and pieces online, and I'd say getting along some with it as well.
Yeah. Perfect example was Bernard could have done a bit, no bother, for comic relief. Perfect, he would have been for it, you know. But he didn't. You know, there definitely should have been a moment where the likes of him, because he's huge online and he has perfect characters for it. Like, but
no, he might have been in it and I didn't see it at the same time. So, but it's probably an actual skit instead of maybe a bit where he talks for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because he does some very good stuff. I was actually on to him there last week. Hopefully he'll be on the podcast soon. He does the stuff like the fake teeth and stuff like that. He does some very good skits.
Brilliant.
It's class, yeah. But yeah, I think we've covered literally everything under the sun there. So any parting message there, Tom? I know Owen had a good one there last week. Build more stuff out of pallets. That's all I can say is, I think pallets are the new currency now. They're like cigarettes in jail. I could do you a deal with maybe 50 pallets if you're looking for it. For anybody listening, if they want to go over and listen to more cursing, far more cursing, probably. I'm probably minding my P's and Q's with you for some reason, but my own podcast, or that, come watch the Buckshot Sideshow on Tuesday nights. It's live on my YouTube channel, and I think Twitter and Facebook. It goes out live to the three of them. So give the other couples are up online now if they want to give them a gander. It's a good old bit of crack. It's some very light relief, and there's no seriousness in it whatsoever. Yeah, there's a nice plug there as well. You just gave as your parting message.
Oh, I'm all about branding. I'm all about branding.
Yeah, I know. I suppose there's only about 400 that might listen to this, but sure, if you get one more person to listen to it, I know I'll be listening to more of it anyways. Over the next while. So the Buckshot Sideshow is on what day live? Tuesday
nights live, but it'll be there for evermore up on YouTube if people want to give it a gander. But as a parting message, I can only say, don't be a cunt. Just going forward in life, just be sound. That's all you can be. Don't be worried about the intricacies of things that people need you to be. Just don't be a cunt. Simple as that.
A1. Tom O'Mahony, thanks a million. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Sound, dude.